Lisa is a woman that the room cannot do without. She's the one who gets called when something matters. She's the one who holds the meeting together. She's the one whose name people drop when they want to signal credibility in a space. Lisa is well loved. And she's quietly, structurally alone. Not in the visible sense. She's surrounded. She has many people around her. But the people around her need her. They lean on her. They turn to her. And she has almost never been able to name a single person in her life who can carry her at the level that she has reached. Welcome back to the Shift Conversation. My name is Oluseye Ashiru, and this is episode 5 of the Shift 9. 9 episodes, 9 fractures, and the full diagnostic map of what is actually happening underneath the lives of high-achieving women. In the first 4 episodes, we have named the fractures that show up around what the women do and how they run: identity, purpose, capacity, rhythm. Today, we move into a different territory. Today, we name the fracture that shows up around who is holding that woman while she does any of those things. Today's episode is the community fracture. And the woman who carries it, the one I want to speak to directly today, I'm going to call her the pillar. If you're listening to this and something just turned over in your chest at the word pillar, then stay with me. This episode is for you. The community fracture is the gap between the community a woman is in and the community that can actually hold her at the level of her assignment. Not the gap that is between isolation and connection, because she's connected, widely connected. The gap between the people she belongs to and the people who can meet her where she is, that is the gap. Because this woman has community, but she does not have communion. Communion is being known at her own level. Communion is being challenged at her own level. Communion is being held at her own level. A woman can have 100 people in her life and still be in a community fracture if none of those people can meet her at the level of her own assignment. And that is the part of the diagnostic that is most often missed. Because from the outside, everything looks like she's the most connected woman in the room. She has the right network. She has the friendships. She has the family. She has the ministry. She has the team. She has people in her life. What she doesn't have is people who can hold her at the altitude that she is operating at. And so, she's been doing all of it for years at a level of solitude that she's never been able to name out loud. And today, we are going to name it. Let's look at the 4 signature markers of the community fracture. Every single fracture in the Shift into Legacy framework has 4 signature markers, 4 ways it shows up in the life of the woman who's carrying it. If you have been listening to this series, then you know what to do. You know to listen for which markers register as your own. Don't argue with the ones that land. So let's start. Marker 1. She is surrounded and unaccompanied. She walks into rooms full of people who want something from her. Their attention, their guidance, their access, their warmth. And she gives it generously, sincerely. And she walks out of those same rooms aware that no one in there asked her one question about what she is carrying. She's not invisible. She is, in fact, the most visible person in the room. But visibility is not the same thing as being seen. Visibility is what she does for everybody else. Being seen is what almost no one is doing for her. That is marker 1. She is surrounded and unaccompanied. Marker 2. She's the convener, never the convened. She's the one who calls the meetings, the one who plans the gatherings, the one who picks up the phone and says, we should do something. She has been the convener her whole life. What she has almost never experienced is the call coming the other way. The text that says, I'm gathering some people and I want you in the room. The invite that says, I called you here because I want to pour into you. The voice on the other end of the line that says, this one is for you. She is so used to being the one who initiates that on the rare occasion that someone tries to convene her. She doesn't always know how to even receive it. And that is marker 2. She has been the convener her whole life. And she's never, or even rarely, she's never been the convened. Marker 3. She is the answer in every room. People come to her with their questions. What should I do about this? How would you handle that? What would you say if you were in my position? She has all of the answers. Or she finds the answer. Or she sits with them while they are trying to find the answer themselves. She is the answer in every room. And she has nowhere to take her own questions. It's not because no one would listen, but because every time she's tried, the conversation has eventually, gently, returned to the person who is asking her. So she stopped trying. She has filed her questions in a space inside herself that nobody else has access to. She's been carrying them alone for years. That is marker 3. She is the answer in every room, but she has nowhere to take her own questions. Marker 4. She has learned to translate herself down. This one is the most subtle and the most expensive. The pillar has spent years in rooms where she is the most resourced person in the room, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, strategically. She has learned over time that if she shows up fully, the room cannot even hold her. And so she's trained herself to translate. She softens what she actually thinks. She edits what she sees. She holds back what she actually knows. And it's not because she's been inauthentic, but she's learned that being fully herself in most rooms costs other people something that they're not even yet ready to pay. And she's been doing this for so many years, for so long, in so many rooms, with so many people, that she's no longer entirely sure what her unfiltered voice even sounds like. That is marker 4. She has been trimming pieces of herself for such a long time that she has forgotten what unfiltered sounds like. Those are the 4 markers of the community fracture: surrounded and unaccompanied, the convener, never the convened, the answer in every room with nowhere to take her own questions, the woman who has been translating herself down for so long she's actually forgotten what her actual voice sounds like. If those 4 landed for you, then stay with me, because now we can move into the 5 examination questions. This is where the diagnostic becomes much more precise for you. Now we look at the 5 examination questions of the fracture. Every episode in this series has the same 5 questions. They are the diagnostic instrument for the fractures. Show me, cost me, protect me, serve me, and limit me. If you're listening on the move, this is the moment to come back later with a notebook. These are not questions to answer in your head. They are questions to write down, to sit with, and to let do their work. Question 1. Show me. Where does the community fracture show up in your life? Show me the texts she sent at midnight that no one followed up on. Show me the way she rehearses what she's allowed to say before she enters most rooms. Show me the pattern of friendships where she ends up being the strong one. Again, show me the conversations she doesn't start because she has nowhere to land those conversations. Show me the moments she has felt most alone, and notice how many of them happened to be in rooms full of other people. Show me. That is the first question. Where is this fracture currently living in her life? Question 2. Cost me. What has this fracture been costing her? This is where most women want to skip ahead. Don't let her do it. A marriage that has been getting less than what was meant for him, because the fracture has been taking a portion of everything she has before she gets home. A body that has been holding what she was supposed to be held collectively and showing her the bill in ways she's been calling stress. Years of vision she could have built faster if she had peers who could see what she was saying. Decisions that she made alone that she could have made in counsel. Decisions she did not make at all because nobody was there to help her think it through. Vague costs produce vague healing. Precise costs produce precise closure. So when this question lands, don't let her say, my relationships have not been perfect. Make yourself say what the fracture has actually taken away from you in hours, in years, in opportunities, in people. That is question 2. Question 3, protect me. This is the question that I always mark to linger on. So we're going to slow down a little bit here. What has this fracture been protecting you from? Because here is the thing about a fracture that has been running silently in your life for years. It is doing something for you. That's why you still have it. It's keeping you safe from something specific. And until you're able to name what that thing is, the fracture has no reason to close because it's been serving you. So I'm going to ask you that question again. What has this fracture been protecting you from? The risk of being known and not chosen. The risk of asking for help and being refused. The risk of opening her hand and finding it empty. The risk of needing somebody and being met with absence. So the truth is that you've been protecting yourself from a specific possibility. A possibility that was once true. A possibility that you have not allowed yourself to be tested in a long time. You don't have to answer this one out loud. You just have to stop pretending that you don't know what the answer is. That is question 3. It's been protecting you from something. Question 4, serve me. What has this fracture been serving in you? This one is the most uncomfortable. Because the fracture is not only protecting you, it is also serving something in your life. It could be the image of the woman who does not need anybody or anything from anybody. The reputation of the woman who can be trusted with anything because she carries everything. That identity of the strong woman, the strong one. The version of yourself that you have that gets to be the giver, but never had to be the receiver. There is a self that you have been building around being unhelpable. And closing that fracture will require you to let go of that self. That is question 4. What has this fracture been building in you that closing it will require you to release and let go of? Question 5. Limit me. Where is this fracture currently capping you? You can't build what requires being held. You can't enter the next room without a different community. You cannot become who you were designed to become if you stay the most resourceful person that you know. You can't lead the next decade from the same level of accompaniment that produced the last one. The ceiling has a name. For the pillar, that woman, the ceiling is solitude at the next level of her assignment. Until that closes, her next level is unreachable. And that's not even because she's not capable. It's just because the next level requires a kind of being held that she has not yet allowed herself to need. That is question 5. The community fracture is currently capping you at the altitude of how alone you've been willing to be. The community fracture does not close because you find better friends. It only closes because you stop translating yourself down. It closes because you begin to require communion, not just connection. It closes because you finally let a few people meet you where you actually are. You were designed to build, and you were not designed to build alone. If today's episode landed for you, here is your next step. The free fracture audit is available to you at shiftintelegacy.com/audit, and it will help you locate which one of the 9 fractures is currently producing the largest cost in your life. It takes only a few minutes. That is your entry point. And if you're ready to do this work in a room with other high-achieving women who can actually meet you at your level, the Shift Labs residency is now open and we're taking applications. It is 3 schools over the next 12 months, and that's our full diagnostic ecosystem here at Shift into Legacy. You can register now at shiftintelegacy.com/residency. On the next episode, we are going into the 6th episode, the marriage fracture. Until then, name what you can see, count what you name, and close what you can count. This is Oluseye Ashiru, and this was the Shift Conversation. I will see you in the next episode.